If you recently or just acquired a M112 or M113 powered Mercedes-Benz, this is something that you should do sooner than later as a preventative measure. And that's pull all four wheels off the car, inspect them, clean them, and check torques. You can't believe how many of these cars I've seen where somebody has put the bolts in so tight, usually a tire shop, that you could not get the wheel off on the freeway with just a regular wrench. The other thing is you get corrosion behind the hubs and you can't even get the wheel off unless you bang on it with a big board, and you may not have that big board with you on the freeway. So as I pull these off on this E500, take a look at the rust. And this one I actually had to bang on a little bit because it was seized right along this inside edge. But this is what you want to deal with right here. And when you put them back on, you want to torque them properly. So if you have a problem with the tire while you're out on the open road, it's not going to be a big problem. And it's not just the hub on the car that's the problem with corrosion. It's also this face right here on these alloy aluminum wheels. If this gets all corroded, when you go to torque this back on the hub, it can be misaligned, actually cause wheel vibration. So we're going to take these outside. We're going to clean these with a Scotch-Brite pad on a drill. Not too coarse, you don't want to take any material off here. And to beautify these, we're going to clean the inside of the wheels as well. And then we're going to clean those hubs before we reinstall these back on the car. At least for me, the job wouldn't be complete unless I did something about the rusty wheel bolts. These were pretty bad. I mean, the heads weren't too bad, but you look down inside the wheel holes and you could see the rust forming on the lower part. So I took all these, used a wire brush to clean them, punched them into this cardboard, and sprayed them with a light coat of primer and a light coat of our custom alloy wheel paint. Just a word of caution, don't put too much paint on these or it will chip off when you apply them with a wrench. I use a very soft Scotch-Brite pad on a drill. Don't use a real coarse one because you don't want to take excessive aluminum off the wheel. And then I use a mixture of Bon-Ami and water and soak the pad and then go to town on cleaning the surface that mates up with the hub on the car. Now, using water does two things. One, it helps to cut through that rust faster. The other thing is you're not breathing dust when you do this. I recommend not doing this dry unless you wear a face mask. So we'll get all four of those cleaned up. We're also going to wash the inside. Bon-Ami makes a good cleaner if you have excessive amount of brake pad dust. And these are going to look pretty nice when we get back on the car. To clean these hubs, I also prefer using some sort of Scotch-Brite or rough pad like this on a power tool. This is an air tool. You could use a drill. And we're going to clean all this rust off. It can be more aggressive because this is steel and I'm not so worried about taking excessive material off. But this is something I do, is I wet this first. It's going to actually cut better, but it's also going to keep that rust dust down. So you don't want too much water, otherwise it's going to fly all over the place. And I'll just show you a section here. Okay, when I wipe that off, you can see how clean that is. And it's hard to get into this crevice right here, and this is important because you want this clean, so that's what centers the wheel on the hub. I just get a very narrow wire brush, same thing, with it wet. I'll come in here and really scrub that corner there, and we'll take the rag, and I think you can see how clean that's going to be. So we'll get all four of these done real smooth and clean, and then come back and I'm going to show you how to apply the anti-seize compound so this doesn't happen in the future. That method works very well. I know there's other methods you can use. I don't like using sandpaper or anything real coarse because it's taking metal off. But I got looking at this real closely and I'm going, what are these dents here? And I started feeling them. This one I already filed. But look at this. Look at this raised edge. It's like somebody took a hammer and hammered on the edge, and I can't figure out why, because there's nothing wrong with this brake disc. There's no excessive wear, but this is raised up a little bit, so I need to file that down before I ever put that wheel back on. And I'll just, now, this isn't something you're going to see very often. I have never seen this before myself, but it's very important that this surface be flat and smooth. Okay, there we go. Little one right here. Okay. Now I'm ready to put the anti-seize on. It's very important here. You only need a very, very thin film. Don't goop it on. You don't want it getting hot and running down into those threads on the wheel bolts. So you're just putting a very fine film, paying particular attention right into this crack. So I'll just put a little bit, because I'm going to spread it out. But I'll make sure I go all the way around here. And then I can just take my fingers and spread this out. I want it over the entire surface so it just stops the rust from coming back. Plus, when you go to pull the wheel off, even in 5 years, you're going to say, wow, look how nice that looks. Now, when I get to that point, I'll just grab a shop towel. I want to make sure that any excess went into these holes is wiped out. And then, if there's any areas where it's on a little thick, I'm just going to take and do a very easy wipe there. So there you have it. Fine film. Make sure to get that corner like you see there with enough that it's not going to cause this to seize again. All right, now I can mount the wheel up. I'm going to run those lug bolts in very carefully so I don't bang up that new paint. And then we'll lower the car and come back and torque these lug bolts to the proper torque. And if you ever have a problem out on the open road with a flat or damaged tire, you're going to be really glad you did this.